Hi, it's Chris from Epics again. This is a short tutorial on how you can use our system to produce quotes for your clients. We'll touch on some topics that have been covered in other videos, but this should provide a good overview as to how you can use jobs, statuses and communications templates to send a quotation. Before we begin, I'd like to show you a basic flowchart that covers the basic flow of a potential quote within the system. Now, of course, your organisation may treat quotes slightly differently, and you may have different requirements to what's shown on screen right now, but you could build your system around your requirements, and that's not a problem at all. Assuming that the quote request comes from your client, the first thing you'd do is log that as a job in the system, probably on a contract or a work order type of quote request or quote required. Once you've put that in the system, you'd edit that status to quote required. You put together your quote, then you could potentially move it to a status of quote ready for submission. Then you can send it to the client, and once it's gone to the client, put it to a status of quote submitted. Then, of course, you're waiting for your client to accept or reject the quote. If they reject it, then you would obviously revisit, redraft, and go around the circle again. You could, of course, cancel that and put it to a status of something like quote rejected, for example, if they never took you up on the job. If they accept it, you could then move it on to a status of quote accepted, ready for scheduling, which would then be picked up by operations and become an actual job where it will flow through the normal job cycle. Now, as I said before, you could have all those statuses, you could have more, or you could have a lot less depending on your workflow. Let's see that in action in the system. So we can see on the dashboard I've highlighted the quote statuses in a green colour. That's just to draw your attention to them for the purposes of this video, but of course you may be aware that you can have colour coded statuses, so if you do want to learn more about that, then do give us a shout. But as you can see, we've got a variety of jobs at different statuses here, and the idea is that you flow through the statuses as we just discussed on the flowchart. So assuming we have a quote required, the person responsible for picking up on quotes would go into this job, and of course it looks like any normal job except for the fact it's on a quote required status. And what we do is we would then put together this job as if it is a quote. So the job description is as per the description of the quote, so it's a title of what you're going to do. So for the purposes of this demo, we're quoting for a new bathroom as per the survey from the QS. Now, the best way of building up a quote is to add your sales lines to the job with ordered values at this point. So what we would do is we would scroll down to the section here where we can add new sales lines. Now we will build up our quotes by adding lines as necessary. That could just be one line, or it could be a whole schedule of quote lines broken down costs into the different areas of the work you're doing. So as we can see, I've added two sales lines, one for labour, one for materials, and I've put an ordered quantity in. Note there is no delivered quantity because we haven't done the work yet, and we've got a rate here. So this is ordered values only. So once you're done, hit continue to save those lines. And our job now on the financial summary has got an estimated value. That's our quote value. So the next step is to send this quote to your client. So within the communications button, I've already set up a communication template for a quote. So if I start to type the name of this, we can see here I've got a template ready to go. Now there is a separate video all about how to set up communications templates, so you can give that a watch and that'll give you all the clues you need to set this up. But as we can see, what's happened, it's pulled through all the information as set up in the template from our job. So we've got the logo here, for example, we've got today's date, we've also got the name of the client and the address of the site that we're going to go and do the works or quote for. And then we have on this here the quote itself. So we've got the job reference or the quote reference, and we've got the lines here as well with the totals. Now, of course, you can make this document in the setup for communications look very different to this if you so wish, and you can add further information at this point by manually typing in. But assuming that this is how you wanted to send this to your client, then you could just simply hit email at this point. And by doing that, what will happen is it will generate the quote letter itself into a PDF file. So you can tick to attach that to your email. You can type the email address here for the client that you're going to send this quote to. And again, we give you the opportunity to make changes to the body of the email at this point if you so wish. And by pressing send email, that will then email your client with a copy of the quote. Now we can see on our job sheet we've got a table here for communication history, and that gives us a clue as to what communications have been sent from the system, so you can see evidence of the email I've just sent to myself here. So at this point we would then edit the status of this job. Because it's no longer quote required, we've now submitted the quote. So I would change this to be quote submitted. And then press continue to move that on to the next stage. So now on our dashboard, when we hit the home button, we'll see a new status of quote submitted has appeared in our list with one item. So of course you would then follow the standard process that you would normally follow regarding quoted jobs within your company. So in this case, quote submitted, assuming that they rejected it, for example, you could simply edit the status to be quote rejected. If you wanted to revisit the quote, you could scroll down to your sales lines here, amend the items within the ordered quantity and perhaps amend the rate, and then you'd just simply redo your communication and it would appear as a second communication or a second draft on this job. Once they do accept the job, then you might well edit the status then onto something such as quote accepted. And then that will then move to this status so that the operations team can then pick this up as part of their normal work, and they would then maybe move it to a waiting allocation or issue it out to an operative to attend. If you'd like to explore quotations in the system, or you've got any questions about anything you've just seen, don't hesitate to give us a shout. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for useful hints and tips. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.